Welcome to Carter's Retro Reviews. Today we'll be reviewing Battle Monsters for the Saturn. Now, when I originally reviewed this game way back when, I read an article that said Saturn games I'd like to see in HD, and for some fucking bewildering reason, this was on that list. Now, watch the review, you'll see exactly why, but HD doesn't fix this game. This isn't something that, you know, they're just going to magically fix all of a sudden. You'd have to redo this whole fucking game for it to be any good. There are so many other Saturn titles that would benefit from a HD remake, but Battle Monsters? Absolutely not. Fucking Sky Target, there's one right off the bat. I've got Astal here, Dragon Force, Fighters Megamix, so many games. But this? Nothing fixes that. Naxxrasoft, what the fuck are we gonna do with you? According to Allgame, this is the only game developed by Naxxrasoft that got 1 star, and after playing, that sounds about right. On one hand, I feel pressured into liking this game and giving it a positive review, even if that opinion is not that of my own, because of a group of Saturn guys from a certain Saturn forum have a particular liking to this game. Absolutely fucking bewildering why, though. The only positive I can see from this game is how inventive the characters are, and that's about it. One thing worth mentioning is, according to Wiki, Naxxrasoft are the publishers and not the developers, and the developers are Scarab. I couldn't find any mention of Scarab anywhere. Manual, disc, artwork, nowhere. And AllMusic.com cites Naxxrasoft as the developers and Acclaim as the publishers, even though there's no mention of Acclaim at all on the manual, disc, or artwork either. I'm still going to assume Naxxrasoft are the developers because their logo is fucking everywhere all over this game. If anyone else can shine any light on this, that'd be great. This 2-player game was released the world over on the Saturn, and after playing the games I have, it's starting to form this really crystal clear picture as to the Saturn's failings. The CEO of Sega, regardless on whether it was PAL or US territories, must have sabotaged Sega from within. Maybe they were mentally unbalanced, maybe they couldn't tell if it's a good game or not and was pulled blindly from the cheapest games to export overseas. It's all a little bit fucked, really. I don't have a nice way of saying it, but after spending time looking at the Japanese exclusives on this console, which, by the way, is nothing short of brilliant, and then seeing dog shit like this make it across the water, it really must question the grasp they had on gaming in the first place. Did they give the job of which games to import to an 8-year-old who'd played nothing else apart from the shit that was put in front of him? Okay, alright, I take that back. That was a poor analogy. Admittedly, an 8-year-old is more susceptible to bright colours more than anything, but even then, age shouldn't sway a decision this badly. As an 8-year-old, I still loved a lot of rad games that I play to this very day. Maybe it was a licensing issue. The characters we have here are, oh god, here we go. Albioli, or Albiol, Chili and Pepper, Death Mask, Dreth Doc, which is known as Strawbelly Jam in Japan, Fangor, which is Kaibar in Japan, Headless Han, which is Heart Heat Han in Japan, Kapka, Lanpa, Makayudo, Naga, Shion, and Scythe is Kuja in Japan. My version's in Japanese, so the story might as well be a plot and a porn, and the characters are both forgettable and unlikable, which creates this whole who gives a fuck about the whole thing. Presentation is much like the rest of this game, rough as guts. Both the menu presentation and the in-game presentation are the same. It's not like the menu presentation is amazing. It looks bad, but I guess at least it's consistent. Life bars in-game are represented by these candles, except they look more like dynamite from the lack of detail and the fact that they're the colour red. The worst part is, they don't really offer any accurate indication on where you stand with a life bar. It could have been seen as unique and quirky, but it's not. It's impractical and ugly. Graphics are the key problem here. Gameplay sucks too, but I'll cover that off there. The biggest issue I have with the characters are the heavily digitized human actors, which is fine, except they look terrible. They're a huge, ugly, pixel mess. The sprites are terrible, and there's no detailing. The frame rate is subpar, Everything has this dull look to it, making it hard to look at. Not the worst Saturn game I've seen, but it's definitely down there. It's like they tried to cram in too much detail, then cut it all back when it ran terribly, and it looks exactly like that. Instead of starting with basic detail and giving more and more until the Saturn couldn't take it, and dialing it back a bit. It gives too much and then tries to blur it all down by cutting colour saturation, dull edges, washing it all out until it ran at a better than shit frame rate, and even then it still doesn't look 100% right. Sound is okay. Some epic warlike tracks would be inspiring if I wasn't getting dicked hard in the ass by everything else in this game. Gameplay is pretty bad, so much so that I'd have just as much luck in one player by giving it to my 1-year-old and telling him to press buttons. I finished the game with Heart Hit Han in 20 minutes by mashing buttons endlessly on the normal setting. I amped it up and more or less had the same result. I had to continue once, but meh. Moves are annoying to pull off and it feels very sloppy to control. As a one-on-one fighting game, it's pretty unoriginal, but the style is confusing as it does have super moves, but then it has this combat fighting which seems to lack originality. Call me old-fashioned, but I like to have some kind of interactivity when playing a game. And it feels like this game is actually fighting me to enjoy it. I'm trying, but I just can't when you keep sucker punching me in the face by hampered controls and a combat that has a certain style about it. And that style is shit style. Replay value is for the dedicated. If you play this game and think it's not too bad, then there's 2-player, which is fine, and it has a host of characters to rip through, I guess. Would I recommend this game? No. It does have some camp qualities about it, but it's mostly just awful. It plays poorly, it looks like a dog's breakfast, and has no redeeming values that'll make you want to come back to it. Avoid.